Cool, yeah. So my name's Joel McCullough. I came here to San Diego in order to study at UCSD. I originally came in as a math major, but I've since changed to cognitive science. But the reason why I'm on camera right now is because a couple of years ago I founded a band called STARSIGN, which is a 10-piece fusion, funk, jazz influenced band that plays around San Diego and has a lot of fun. And we just played at City College and we're releasing our debut album in 25 hours. We played at City College in the recording studio that's on campus, which is really, really cool. Basically, it was actually a lot of flashbacks to our time recording the album in studio. But instead of treating it as a recording session, we were treating it as a live session. We had a whole audience of the recording and World Culture's students in the recording booth, and we were just playing at them. We were being live streamed. We had some chairs set up around the room, and people were sitting and listening and cheering us on. It was a really good time. We definitely had to adjust to being in a very different arrangement, hearing ourselves in a different way. Very often when you're playing live, there's this sort of live energy that's very hard to define in words, but you know it when you know it just because of the venue. And it's purely the fact that the audience was behind a window in this case made that live energy very different. Not bad, but it was just a different thing for us to sort of interact with. And I consider that to all be a good thing. When you're playing as a band and you're trying to get noticed, I think it's really important to play in as many different contexts and circumstances as you possibly can. The show was super cool. We were being live streamed. Andrea interviewing me, organized it all and made it happen. We were working with Mike Espar, who was the guy. And what's his actual title? Like he's the music director, professor. Right? He's a director, right?
I think he's professor of music. He's also the World Culture's event
director.
Chair.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. I just know he's really badass and he's a really cool hang. He was an integral part of making it all happen, and it was a really fun time. Yeah, we're very glad we did it. So first things first, I play a Nord Stage 4, which is just about as expensive as a musical instrument can get in the piano world, below just buying an actual acoustic piano. You don't need that. I wouldn't have bought it were it not for the fact that I went to a Sam Ash and they had it there and there was a tiny bit of damage on it, and they were like, we're gonna cut off $2,000 if you want to buy it for this tiny bit of damage. And I was like, okay, put it in my car. But otherwise, I definitely would not have bought it. I would say the two bands that have had the most influence in my life have been a band called Rush, which is the one that you're more likely to have heard about. It's a extremely famous prog rock band from Canada. They've been going for probably 3 times as long as I've been alive. And a band called Snarky Puppy, which is much less well known, but they're I think a 23-piece fusion band. Founded in Dallas. Currently, I think they're based in New York, and they're an incredible show to watch. Whenever I write music, I am constantly noticing, this little thing sounds like it could have been written by, Geddy Lee from Rush, or this little thing could have been written by Michael League from Snarky Puppy. But of course, it's never that simple. Right now I'm writing a song with a lot of influence of gamelan music from Indonesia. And I have some music that's, the song that we end a lot of our shows with, Okane, is based off of heavy synth dance music. And, it's drawing from one place, drawing from another. What we're doing, first and foremost, is we're saying, okay, we're going to release this album digitally. What does that mean? It means we go through a website. For example, we're using a site called DistroKid. There's a million, CD Baby, blah, 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 blah. And what they essentially do is you send them your music, pay them a little bit of money, and then they send it to Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Deezer, a million other sites you haven't heard of, but that a few people use. You know, every country has like a big one that no one else outside of that country has ever heard of. And that's purely digital releases. And if you want to do CD releases, that'll be a different service that you have to pay some money in order to do. And if you want to do vinyl, that's a different service that you're going to have to pay money in order to do. And, you know, ultimately, we would absolutely love to print this album on CD. We would love to print this album on vinyl. But, you know, not to be down on ourselves or anything. I'm very happy with how everything is. But it's all investment, you know? And if we don't think that a bunch of people are going to buy our stuff on CD yet, or vinyl yet, then, you know, it's just not worth it for us to risk doing a bunch of CD pressings and vinyl pressings, given that we're going to have to pay for every single one and hope that we make it back through selling. Jazz fusion is a bit of a difficult genre to define because by nature, a big focal point of the genre is stealing stuff from other genres and blending it into one cohesive whole with a million different influences. And back in the 60s, when jazz fusion was first invented, it was sort of the same concept, just like, okay, what if we, a bunch of jazz musicians, take this concept of heavy improvisation and just apply it to different stuff, right? So instead of having this right, with, you know, do and everything being that sort of vibe, what if we just take, you know, traditional Indian music, or, you know, blend that with some African American blues music, or maybe some indigenous Japanese music, or just take all of that and put it together into one whole that's heavily improvised and taking influence from here and influence from there. And what I'd like to say is I'd really like to emphasize to all you lovely people, you lovely individuals, how much it really does help more than anything else just to share music around. You know, in a world where music is more accessible than ever, it also means that music, you know, in a very contradictory seeming way at first glance, is also harder to find than ever, because there's just so much of it everywhere. And to a degree, you know, it really helps dealing with, you know, the Spotify algorithm and the YouTube algorithm and pitching to different playlists and stuff. But really, the way that you get noticed these days, at least, you know, the way that you take off, is word of mouth. You know, tell people about it, get people listening, you know, come to our live shows and all that. Just, you know, show the support if you want to show the support, because that really makes a difference more than anything else.